among his former employers. And talk about the other end of the age spectrum. This young right back, Giuseppe Bovolina, just 18 years of age, keeping Javi Lopez on the bench this evening. He made his senior debut in the previous round as the Reds continue to blood a host of their promising youngsters. The Reds playing in their change strip, the bone colour. Wanderers in their traditional red and black. And a healthy crowd on hand here at Marconi Stadium on what is an absolute carpet of a pitch. Our referee tonight is Ben Abraham, who sent off Newcastle Jets' Brandon O'Neill in the previous round in Maitland as Brisbane edged out the Jets. There's Marco Rudan in amongst the Wanderers coaching staff, who you might remember finished his playing days with Adelaide United back in 2010. And a belated happy birthday to him as well. He turned 47 just a couple of days ago. And Carl Wirtz is his opposite number, the reigning A-League coach of the year. He's taken Adelaide to within a step of the grand final in each of the last 3 seasons, but he is still waiting for that elusive first piece of silverware. And a reminder, our match referee Ben Abraham, who is from New South Wales. Plenty of matches under his belt, both in league and cup, and in charge tonight for this all A-League men's clash in the round of 16 of the Australia Cup. Milos Ninkovic still awaiting his first goal in Wanderers colours. Plenty of assists to his name. Josh Brillante has made the off-season switch, of course, from Melbourne Victory. And there's Isaias for the Reds, who is the only survivor from Adelaide's inaugural Cup win back in 2014 when they defeated Perth in the final. So off we go in Sydney's West. Western Sydney Wanderers against Adelaide United. A place in the last 8, the prize. And Andy Harper is alongside in commentary tonight. This should be a fascinating clash, not least because of the 2 entertaining meetings that we had between these clubs last season.
Yeah, good evening, Simon. Looking forward to this one immensely. Pitch is beautiful, 2 teams primed. A lot to be gained out of progression here tonight, because by definition another A-League team will bow out of the competition, which makes the road a little less potholed from here on for the successful team tonight. Should be a ripper.
It's not the first Australia Cup tie that the Wanderers have played here at this venue. You might remember they defeated Bonnyrigg White Eagles 2-1 back in 2018. Sent forward by Aidan Simmons and brought down by Borrello. There was a suggestion maybe of a handball, early chance for the Wanderers, but swept away at the near post.
Yeah, it's a good early sight there. Brandon Borrello looking boisterous. Might have cut that back at more of an angle to Tom Beedling, who was coming through the edge of the penalty area.
Here come the Wanderers again. Aidan Simmons to float it across. Jack Clisby will pick it up on the near side and gets the cross in. It's a really good one, and it's a first goal in Wanderers colours inside 90 seconds of his maiden start for Marcus Antonsson, the Swede. Lovely delivery by Clisby, and Antonsson did the rest.
Well, it's a dream start for Western Sydney. They had a good side at goal, which wasn't maximised not 30 seconds ago, and Clisby rounding out the ball here, whipping in a really nice cross, had dangerous curl on it. Antonsson, the number 9, was there exactly where he needed to be, and it's a sprawling Joe Gauci who's beaten.
A little bit of history for Marcus Antonsson, the first Swede to score in the Australia Cup. Ola Toivonen didn't manage it during his days with Melbourne Victory, and it didn't take him too long, did it? Great start for the Western Sydney Wanderers, who've never won this competition. They've been in the semi-finals on 2 previous occasions, 2017 and 2018. But credit too to Jack Clisby. It was a peach of a delivery.
As a top ball from Jack Clisby, and exactly what Antonsen or anyone like him would appreciate on their first start for their new club.
Interesting that had his previous club side in Saudi Arabia not been relegated last year, we might not be seeing Antonsen in Australia this season. There was a new contract up for grabs, but once they were demoted to the second tier in Saudi, that offer was withdrawn. And he had been in contact with Marco Redan as early as January with a view to a move in the window, but eventually it happened during the off-season and already started to repay the coach's faith in him.
A large chunk of the crowd, Simon, yet to make their way into the stadium. They'll be surprised to see the score. They would have heard a rather rambunctious response from the Wanderers fans at the early goal. But there's a really large crowd still snaking their way around Club Marconi to get themselves into the stadium.
Sent long by Popovic. Bernardo is after it with the dyed blonde hair these days. Son of the legendary Casio, of course, as the Wanderers fans in buoyant mood after that early goal from their new signing. Turned back by Popovic. Just on the goal, Harps, I mean, it was a wicked delivery from Jack Clisby, but Joe Gauci perhaps a little bit disappointed that he didn't make more of a challenge.
Well, I think certainly, Simon, I think when he looks back, he'll realise that as good as the ball was, and as aggressive as Antonsen was in attacking that ball, he'd probably had enough time to position himself to get aggressive himself at attacking that ball. It just didn't at all work for him, and the Wanderers made the most of it. It was a really good goal to start the season for a new player. It's a great run again from Clisby.
And Clisby gets it on target, but just catching practice this time for Joe Gauci, who decided to stay with the Reds. Signed a new contract despite some overseas interests, wants to continue his development by playing every week. But beaten already here at Marconi Stadium by Marcus Antonsen. Reminder, Adelaide United have not lost an away cup tie since the final in 2017 against Sydney FC, and that was after extra time. 11 matches unbeaten on the road in this competition. Johnny Yule. And the Wanderers just too aggressive, too strong. Borello will ferry it out wide for Dylan Parias, and Borello has stayed down in back play. The cross comes in, and maybe Borello would have been in that position had he managed to keep his feet. Very strong start by Marco Redan's team.
Very, very defending on the front foot, looking to challenge whenever they can, and then play immediately from any intercept or dispossession. Has been a very aggressive start by Western Sydney.
And also maybe a portent of things to come for the A-League men's campaign, Harps, with Brandon Borello paired with Marcus Antonsen in attack. A slight change of shape and focus perhaps this season.
Well, certainly on the early evidence. And Jack Clisby, the two fullbacks are virtually pinned out as wingers.
It was a lovely ball, by the way, by Borello, and Aidan Simmons doesn't need a second invitation to get forward. It's a good slide in by Ryan Kitto, and Goodwin will send it forward, looking for that run in behind of Halloran. Ninkovic for the Wanderers. Little stumble by Piraeus, but managed to recover his ground and turn back by Marcelo. short of his regular central defensive partner in Thomas Love-Murchler, who's gone to Uzbekistan. One of several high-profile departures from the Wanderers during the off-season. They were such a formidable duo. Helped the Wanderers keep 10 clean sheets last season, the best in the competition. Brillante finding the gap. Borrello trying to turn it around the corner. It's worked out nicely though for Clough, who'll square it up for Halloran. And arriving here is Goodwin. Just couldn't quite sort his feet out, Craig Goodwin. And Beadling nipped in. Some encouragement for Adelaide after being on the back foot for the opening few minutes of this Australia Cup encounter. Bernardo. Quick feet by the Olyroux. Back through Warland. Sent over the top by Kitto. First time in towards Clough at the near post from Bernardo. It's better from the Reds.
Yeah, some good ball movement there in the last attack, where the ball ended up sort of near, well, definitely near Craig Goodwin. He's just got the feeling that maybe a pass or two earlier, someone in that attack, it started with Clough on the edge of the box. He was on the end of that move there, the number 10 for Adelaide. Might have taken a shot a little bit earlier, but a good little comeback here from Adelaide. Rocked in the opening moments, not just with the early goal, but in general terms, the Wanderers had been able to close the clamps on them. But they've rebalanced. They've got some direction now, Adelaide.
They've also got a throw, which Ryan Kitto will take. Bovalida. Is he going to be the next young star to emerge at Cooper Stadium? We've seen quite a few over the last couple of years. Borrello is quick and strong and he's away from his marker and keeps the ball in play. Two waiting in the box. And the cross didn't quite match that earlier work from Brandon Borrello.
That's twice now. He's been in exactly that part of the field and might have done better, should have done better. Based on last year's form, probably would have done better. Nothing deliveries in the end. And he's done so well in the lead up, Brandon Borrello. General sign still good, of course, just missing that finishing touch so far from him.
Little slide rule ball towards Clough at the top of the box, and he looks quizzically at Ben Abraham in the forlorn hope that he might get a free kick. Good strong start though by Western Sydney Wanderers. They didn't manage to beat Adelaide in the two meetings last season. That was a lovely little readjustment from Milos Ninkovic. Still showing us he's got plenty of tricks in the box even at the age of 38. Brillante. Clisby. Beadling. And back through Josh Brillante. Nobody has played in more Australia Cup finals, by the way, than Josh Brillante. He appeared in 5 consecutive finals for 3 different clubs as well. Won just 2 of them. Missed out last year, of course, with MacArthur defeating Sydney United in the final. Says Johnny Yull. Looking to swing it cross field, and Goodwin not quite able to divert it out towards Kitto. That combination that was so effective last term for Adelaide United. Simmons, Goodwin quickly back goal side, but can't keep the ball in play. Johnny Warren medalist, of course, last year. What a season he had, Craig Goodwin. 15 goals and 10 assists. Down the line by Clisby. Ninkovic. Just ran the ball over the sideline. Throw in from Borvalina. Sent forward by Popovic. Controlled by Halloran. Borvalina steadies it down for Warland. The gap wasn't there. Broken up in midfield by Brillante, and again that pace out wide. This time through Dylan Parias. Parias across the face, and Gauci plunges on the ball gratefully.
Gee, that wasn't far off either. Off the outstretched big toe of Brandon Borello. Will be offside against Bernardo. Another good chance for the Wanderers. Searing speed from Dylan Parias. Kiddo beaten with the little hip swivel. And then Warland doing all he could, but couldn't stop the cross from coming in. And you just saw how close Brandon Borello was to just nicking that ball in stride.
Well, with Parias on one side and Jack Clisby providing some good deliveries down the other, it's going to be Gauci's. Maybe that's an area of the game that the Wanderers will have a fair bit of joy from next season. It's already paid dividends here in the Cup tonight at Marconi Stadium. It's a rather cheap giveaway though by Bonnetig. Ferried wide by Yule. Turned back by Goodwin. And Popovic. There's no width for him, wide right. Borvalina was instructed to provide that width. Popovic into that little channel to find Halloran. Clough. A little bit too much on that. Goodwin should retrieve it. Unfortunately for him and for Adelaide, isn't able to. Right in front of the red and black block. A temporary home tonight. Home for you, Andy Harper. You played here for many years, coached here as well.
It's great to be back. Place is looking wonderful. And the start to this game has been good.
Take it down nicely by Ninkovic. Clisby looking to set Antonsen on his way, and it's an awkward one for the Adelaide defence to deal with, almost betwixt and between, but Gauci claimed it. Borvalina just reared up a bit on Borvalina, and then as he tried to turn inside, Ninkovic, Serbian international, committed the foul.
Rewarded was Borvalina with a heavy touch. Often you say that. Certainly put Ninkovic in a compromising position.
Walden to carry it forwards. Simmons in the way. Towards halfway by Beadling. Isai is under pressure. It's done really well, the Spaniard. A bit too heavy off the boot of Zach Clough, though.
That's unfortunate for Adelaide in particular. So, yes, you're right, Simon. He did so well to get out of that jam under incredible pressure. And having done the very heavy lifting for his team, then Zach Clough overhit the pass, all for nothing.
Here's Yule, had a little look outside him, but there was nobody there for Adelaide United. Warland. A pirouette by Yule. Goodwin is wide left now, as is Kitto. It's a foul by Dylan Perius. It's indicative of the aggressive approach that they've brought into this contest, the Wanderers, trying to win the ball back high up the pitch.
Yeah, it was worth a go there from Dylan Perius. To make the steal there, of course, and he's got some great space to exploit with that speed of his.
Warland's attempted ball forward, charged down by Borrello. Oh, and they could be in trouble here, Adelaide United. Gauci giving the ball away, and the Wanderers were swarming all over them. Borrello has fired wide. The offside flag was raised in any case. Wouldn't have counted, but goodness me.
That's a great steal from Josh Brillante. And it's going to be a free kick for the Wanderers. The foul was committed before Borrello was offside.
I just wonder whether Ben Abraham has shown a yellow card there to Alexander Popovic. We'll try and get confirmation of that.
It's an interesting one, Simon, because in this day and age, when we stop, rewind and pause and freeze frame, did the foul get committed before the player was offside? No, I threw that one at you as a welcome back.
Thanks, Andy. Good to be back. Confirmation, by the way, that Alexander Popovic was cautioned.
Yeah, it was heavy tackle, right outcome. I'm just being provocative there and facetious.
I wouldn't have you any other way. And that foul by Popovic means this free kick spells danger potentially again for the Reds. The wall does its job. Flipped back in by Jack Clisby, but it's going to bounce clear of Ninkovic. Danger averted for Adelaide. But they went hunting in packs for the ball. And Adelaide couldn't deal with it. That's that challenge from Popovic.
That's a crunching tackle. Clear yellow card.
Gauci under pressure again. This time from Borrello. Has to go long. Thomas similarly having to see off the attentions of Clough at the other end. Sent back forward by Warland, but stolen back by Beadling for Western Sydney. Far too heavy on his release, the Englishman. A good, lively start to this contest. Ninkovic. Clisby. Elrod lurking for any potential scraps. Bonnetig. Calmly done. Midfield by Clisby, but a miscue from Beadling. He's strong enough to win it back, or is he? No, foul on Isaias. It's a 50-50 ball, and both went for it.
Yeah, that's interesting, that one. I would have thought Beadling was in the better position. They both slid in for the ball. Heavy touch or a non-touch, really, from Beadling. I know they both slid in from a similar angle. Quite sure how Frau can come out of that one.
He's escaped without further sanction. Tom Beadling, just a wag of the finger from Ben Abraham. Marcelo to tidy up here for Western Sydney. Thumped forward by Thomas. Ninkovic. Headed off of the pass initially by Kitto, but the Wanderers will stream forward down the left. Clisby looking to bend it towards Piraeus.
It's disappointing for the Wanderers. They've got the lead. It was a good goal that they scored, but they've had 3 or 4 other raids, Simon, where just the last pass, either by execution or by option, has let them down. It's a really good break, this, and Clisby, who was responsible for that first goal with a beautiful cross in for Antonsen, just miscuing there, and another chance goes for Western Sydney.
Beadling penalised again. That aggressive approach from the red and black has been a feature of their display in this first half. Again, they're harrying Isaias. Launched forward by Warland. Donatic stepping across, now Marcelo. Bundled to the floor by Ben Halloran. Marcelo got a bit of history, hasn't he, of course, with Adelaide. You might remember late last season when the Reds made off with a 3-2 win in Parramatta. He both scored and received a red card after a late melee with Nestori Irankunda. Marcelo's ball, Piraeus. Losing out this time to Ryan Kitto. Piraeus generally has pushed Kitto back and not allowed him to link up in an attacking sense with Craig Goodwin, who's perhaps been rather quiet as a result. Beadling, fraction too high for Borrello. Dylan Piraeus Harp's one of those players who's been on the scene now for a few years. He's been at 1 or 2 different clubs. Never really secured a regular first-team spot, but you know his attributes, and pace is certainly one of those.
Well, you're right, Simon, and it looks like he's got the jump start in the starting 11 position now. It's his to lose, you'd imagine. More consistent end product on the back of those ranging runs, very difficult to handle. It needs to be converted into assists or goals on a more consistent basis.
Different sort of player to Amor Layuni, who operated on that right-hand side for the latter part of the last A-League season. Wanderers not able to keep hold of him. They've also lost the likes of Callum Nieuwenhof, Roman Amalfitano, Morgan Schneiderlin, Yanni Mbakoto. All have departed during the off-season.
Yengi's left as well for Portsmouth,
yep,
and doing well there.
Doing very well.
Good luck to him.
Dama Traore and Tomislav Merchler, 2 others as well. So there's a lot of experience gone from the Wanderers. Bit of a rebuild for Marco Redan. They've looked pretty good so far here tonight. And they still lead through Marcus Antonsen's first goal for the club, which came after just 87 seconds by my watch. Adelaide looking to build a case for an equaliser. This is Bobolina. Clisby in the road. There's control from Clough. Ninkovic. Look at the weight on that. Absolutely brilliant, wasn't it, from Ninkovic? So difficult for defenders to deal with, but deal with it they have, Adelaide United. The absolute definition of the slide rule pass. Here's Kitto. Rare chance for him to get forward. Goodwin. Bundled over. And carelessly by Parias. It was Ben Halloran, not Craig Goodwin. Free kick for the Reds. You might remember that all three of their goals in that 3-2 win late on in the last A-League season came from set pieces. So the Wanderers have learned their lesson. It's not a great delivery from Goodwin. Too often we say that, and Brandon Borello trying to break clear. He believes he was impeded.
I think he's right to ask. I mean, where was the advantage? The ball ended up going out, and he only missed it by half a yard, and he was at least impeded by that amount. I'd have been a bit put out if I was him as well.
A bit of holding from Isaias on Antonsen. Spain against Sweden. Back at the Women's World Cup. Now, Adelaide endured an opening 5 or 10 minutes that was pretty torrid. They've certainly built their way back into the game in terms of possession. Wanderers still looking dangerous though. This is Borello, seen off by Warland, and now a chance for Craig Goodwin to spring forward down the left. And get perhaps one of his telling crosses in. He chooses to come back through Kitto instead. Isaias. Goodwin. Wanderers quick to retreat defensively. Johnny Yule. Goodwin to open up a bit of space for Bovalina. Hugging the touchline is Bernardo's. A good challenge though by Clisby. And then Bernardo fouling his opponent in his attempts to win back the ball.
That was a necessary automatic response from Bernardo. It's the first time he's been dispossessed. His reaction was a good one. He gave away the foul, but he needed to put that effort in, otherwise Clisby was away. An honest attempt to win the ball.
Brillante gets to face forwards. Little turn around the corner, beautiful by Borello. It's really in touch again. Simmons with the cross, and Ninkovic was arriving. Well, I don't see him score too many headers. And it's going to be a corner.
Well, Bovalina did a good job tracking Ninkovic there, and apart from the goal that the Wanderers scored, and this is clearly the best delivery into the penalty area that they've seen since. The first touch was a little dodgy from Simmons, but he gathered it nicely in the end and dropped a beautiful ball in there for an unlikely recipient, as you say, Simon, in Milos Ninkovic. Bovalina did well tracking back and heading the ball out to safety.
All of which gives the Wanderers the corner, which Brillante will take. Towards the back post it goes, and there's a scramble, and Beadling trying to nod it into the back of the net, but Gauci pounces.
Gee, it's a great chance. I'm not sure if Beadling had actually lost where Joe Gauci was. In the end, he'd either lost him or completely mucked the header up. He's got time to line it up here, and he's headed straight at the goalkeeper. I can only assume he'd fallen out of his range of vision.
The body position all wrong. Bernardo. He's seen much more of the ball than Craig Goodwin on the other flank. He's been pretty well marshalled. Maybe another reason why Dylan Pereira's has been brought to the club, to provide that cover so quick to get back. There he is again, providing help for Aidan Simmons. Adelaide come away with it though. This is Yule. Clough creeping into the box, and they're trying to find it. It's a good retrieval that from Bonatig, and then not quite sure what that was from Josh Brillante. Just complete miscommunication with his goalkeeper.
Miscued, and luckily for Brillante, as Clough had sort of checked out a little bit.
They've not checked out. Here and ready for the new campaign. Brillante perhaps just losing his bearings for a moment there. Adelaide United corner. Goodwin's delivery towards the near post. Antonsen is there, chested down by Clough. Easy pickings in the end for Lawrence Thomas. Ninkovic. There's Antonsen outside him. Here is the Swede. Looking for Perez at the back post. It wasn't a bad ball in. Kitto dealt with it in the first phase. It is going to be a Wanderers throw though. Simmons looking for an option, which Perez provides. And Simmons with the trip. And some respite for Adelaide United. It's just the second meeting between two clubs in the cup. They met in the semi-finals back in 2017. Adelaide winning through to that final meeting with Sydney, which ultimately they lost. It's the Wanderers in the ascendancy here for the moment. There's Bonatig. Turned by Isaias, tidied up by Brillante. Steadied down by Barello, crunching challenge between Goodwin and Simmons. Oh. No foul there. Thought there might have been.
No contact adjudged. Miscued pass again from Barello to lead to the first collision. Isaias not even looking over his shoulder to appeal. And he will go to the High Court when there's even a hint.
Slid out wide by Brillante. Clisby. Ninkovic. Beyond him is Antonsen, and he's found him, Milos Ninkovic. It's lovely stuff from the Wanderers. It's Barello! It's 2 for Western Sydney Wanderers. And Brendan Barello strikes again against the club from the city of his birth, picking up where he left off last season. And the Wanderers are too clear.
Well, look at this from Milos Ninkovic again. He's not even looking at where the pass is going because he's already taken that picture. He knows exactly where the space is and where Antonsson is. And he just reverses a beautiful ball to the Swede, whose offering is pretty tidy as well. The cut back to Borello. And he still had a bit of work to do, Brandon Borello, to control the ball and then make the touch. The angled shot was a difficult one. But it's a wonderful goal, really, from Western Sydney Wanderers, and its roots traceable directly and utterly to Milos Ninkovic, 38 years young, with a quite magnificent pass to split that defence open.
I'll tell you what, Harps, even further back, you can give due credit to Josh Brillante, who set that attack in motion, and then Clisby, who fed Ninkovic. It was a really, really good team goal from the Wanderers.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But what we've seen from the Wanderers so far is they've had the secondary and tertiary part of the attack down nicely. They haven't had the answer with the last pass since the first minute, that is. But Ninkovic, not for the first time tonight, has just hit the ball millimetre perfect. And credit to Antonsson. It was a wonderful pass. He's got a goal and now a crucial involvement in that second one. Great start for the Swede here in Australia.
Ninkovic just seems to get better with age, doesn't he? Bernardo's had a little warning for the foul on Borello. You're right on Borello. It seemed to have got away from him. Somehow he managed to pack a punch with that right boot. Find a way past Joe Gauci. 13 goals last season for the Wanderers after being converted from a winger to a central striker. And that partnership between him and Antonsson could be one to keep an eye on this coming A-League campaign. Here's Brillante. Borello is so strong, he just barges his opponent out the way. Antonsson's in the middle, and can he get there? Not quite, the Swede.
Great touch. Great touch from Borello on the pass. This is a decent touch as well, but less crafty, more bulky. And then he just rolled the ball nicely in between defender and goalkeeper. I don't think he could have pulled it back anymore. I think the defender would have been able to clear it. And unfortunately for the Wanderers, Antonsson just couldn't get there.
Well, Adelaide keen for a response, or a complete miscue from Aidan Simmons, and Craig Goodwin, along with everybody else, just wasn't expecting it. Antonsson looking to release Dylan Parias. Well, Borello and Antonsson. 4-4-2 is not necessarily a formation that is very much in vogue in modern football, but maybe Marco Redan is going to go against the grain. Thomas has to be careful, and he gets a bit lucky there. That heavy touch could so easily have led to Adelaide United getting back in the game through Ben Halloran.
And caused great embarrassment for Lawrence Thomas. Marcelo with a rather routine ball back. It's a almost ugly situation. He couldn't make the most of it. Wasn't that cut and dried for Ben Halloran? He still had to work quickly and sharply. In the end, he couldn't control his touch, and Lawrence Thomas is very grateful for the fact.
This is not a situation that Adelaide United are particularly accustomed to being in this competition, at least. Here's Bernardo. Decent return ball from Isaias. Partly away by Simmons. A reset through Isaias, the Reds. Popovic. Bernardo's been caught by Clisby. Not quite the battle in this first half. Adelaide free kick. I mentioned that's an 11 game unbeaten run on the road in this competition for Adelaide United. There you see Clisby just catching Bernardo. They've only ever lost one game on the road in 90 minutes in this competition. That was against Melbourne Victory back in 2015. Remarkable record. Here's Goodwin. And good claim by Thomas. It's flattened Alexander Popovic, and immediately Ben Halloran has signalled for medical attention. Heavy fall from the Adelaide United defender. No blame can be attached to Lawrence Thomas.
No, he's squaring up for the ball. It's a fair contest. Landed young Popovic quite heavily.
Maybe just bang the head on the turf as well. So of course they have to go through the concussion protocols. Looks to be okay. Alexander Popovic. Checks all done. And have to go to the sideline before re-entering the fray. With half-time approaching, Harps, Carl Beard has got a big problem to resolve.
Yeah, look, they're lacking a little bit of invention, or a lot of invention. They're quite quick across the ground. They're struggling at the back to keep up with Parius and Borello, but otherwise in possession. And they're lacking that invention, but I also think they're lacking just that little bit of willingness to pass through a tighter angle to a player in a forward position. Just haven't quite got the confidence at the moment to try and thread that pass, and maybe stung a little bit by the speed of the Wanderers' counter-attack too. So to the extent that that's true, the Wanderers have won that psychological battle by the way they've nipped and bitten and closed down and won those contested situations.
A ball over the top from Marcelo's a good one. Antonsen, 3-0. What a first half the Swede has had. 2 goals, 1 assist. And that could be the hammer blow in first half stoppage time. It was a ball over the top from Marcelo, beautifully controlled by the Swede. And what about the finish? Wanderers 3-0.
Well, it's rather straightforward in design, but brilliant in execution. It's a wonderful, wonderful touch from Antonsen. Hasn't he introduced himself to the Australian football marketplace tonight at Marconi? Scored 2 good goals, the second of which was a real peach, and involved in the Wanderers' second as well. It's a lovely finish, and Wanderers fans on the edge of their seat licking their lips at what this signing might mean for this club. What a superb start.
Is that the killer blow for Adelaide United? They would have hoped to get into the break with just the 2-goal deficit. Now it's 3. Marcus Antonsen, 32 years of age. He struggled to make an impact during his days in England. Just 1 goal in 16 matches for Leeds. Did a bit better with Blackburn Rovers, but has already made himself a firm fan favourite on his starting debut for Western Sydney Wanderers. 2 goals and 1 assist. The first after just 87 seconds. And then he teed up Brandon Borello for the second before helping himself to the third with just seconds to play in the opening stanza. A lot to do for Adelaide United in the second half here at Marconi Stadium. At the break, it's Western Sydney Wanderers with 1 foot in the last 8, leading Adelaide United by 3 goals to 0. So let's have a look then at the first half highlights, and the Wanderers flew out of the block. Simmons' ball retrieved by Clisby. What about this for a cross?
Well, that was a great start from the Wanderers. Wonderful cross, and we weren't to know at this point just how effective Marcus Antonsson was going to be as a Western Sydney Wanderer, but we'll learn now to be a little bit more circumspect, because this is great from Clisby. It's his best offering of the night. This, as effective as it was and as good as it was, wasn't Antonsson's best contribution. That was to come later in the half. Well, Dylan Perez has been really difficult to handle down the right-hand side with that speed of his, and the ball across to the back post. Snuffed out on that occasion, but again, Adelaide with the warning signs, plenty of them, that they were finding it difficult to close up the field in counter-attack. And here's Clisby again, feeding the attack. In this case, it's Milos Ninkovic for the second goal. It's superb, just a superb pass. And that was more than half decent from Antonsson as well, building his CV in the first 45 minutes of his Australian football sojourn. The Swede, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to look back on. Clisby's been really good down the left. Adelaide haven't been able to close him down. Ninkovic just superb. Forewarned, should be forearmed. He's been around long enough to know what he can do. The ball back from Antonsson to Barillo was excellent. Barillo had plenty of work to do and did it just fabulously to make it 2-0. And then the cream on the cake at the end, Marcelo the Brazilian to Antonsson the Swede. Route 1 football, but a really cultured finish at the end of it. Just superb, really superb from Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah, pretty good opening. 45 minutes from the Western Sydney Wanderers. There's the stats, 7 shots to 2. Adelaide have struggled really at the other end. Just one big opportunity, I guess you could call it, when Lawrence Thomas took a heavy touch and almost opened the door for Ben Halloran. But the Wanderers with 1 foot in the quarterfinals, leading Adelaide United, the 3 times Cup winners, of course, by 3 goals to 0 at half-time. We're off to a quick break. We're back with the second half very, very shortly. Welcome back to Marconi Stadium. What a first half it's been for Western Sydney Wanderers. 3 goals to the good and a sparkling starting debut for their new Swedish import, Marcus Antonsson. 2 goals and 1 assist. Here's that opener, which arrived after just 87 seconds. Jack Clisby with the pinpoint cross, and Antonsson in the right place at the right time. Milos Ninkovic has had a big influence in the first half as well. He teed up Antonsson, who in turn found Brandon Borrello. Looked as though it might have got away from him, Borrello, but a terrific finish from last year's Wanderers top scorer. And then well, route one ball over the top from Marcelo. And what about that for a finish from Antonsson? So Western Sydney Wanderers, who banged in 6 in the last round against Floriat Athena, the 5-goal hero from that night, Lachlan Brook, not available tonight because he is away on Olyroos duty, but they haven't needed him. And what can Adelaide United, 3 times cup winners, of course, very much the kings of this particular tournament, do about it in the second 45? No changes made, as I can see, from either coach. And it's Ben Halloran who rolls the ball back, and knowing Carl Veert a bit, as you do, Harps, and I do too, I reckon there might have been a few pretty frank words exchanged at half-time in that Adelaide dressing room.
Yeah, a pretty frank exchange of views in a one-way direction. And they've already turned the ball over to start this second half. They've just been too aggressive, the Wanderers, through the first 45 and now through the first 45 seconds of the second half.
He's resisted the temptation to make changes. Might drop here for Piraeus, but out comes Joe Gauci to claim. Of course, Adelaide, without their normal go-to man, off the bench, Nestori Irankunda. Hasn't travelled to New South Wales tonight after that incident in the NPL finals game against Campbelltown City last week, where he swallowed his tongue, and just on that, top marks to referee Christian Verdicchio, who gave him immediate first aid attention and prevented the situation from becoming even more serious, but perhaps wisely rested tonight. But Carl Veert will be looking for a response from his players. Maybe not that sort of response from Ben Warland.
Well, it hasn't happened in the opening 90 seconds of the second stanza. And want certainly to see something out of this second half on which they can build.
Thompson is away looking for this one on a hat-trick, of course. Just on the Reds, Andy, Carl Veert yet to make any off-season signings. Still a way to go, of course, before the A-League campaign starts. Maybe he might change his mind on that on the back of what's transpired so far.
Well, they do a lot of their business out of their own youth setup, which has been one of the great stories of Adelaide over the years. And they've been basically pretty judicious in how they've then staffed the more senior positions. But they're just looking a little short, not just on the scoreboard, but in general play so far this evening. And of course, a goal for Adelaide will change everything, change their belief, change their energy.
Not too many players have left, it must be said as well, during the off-season. One day, that horrible injury has left the club. George Blackwood as well. This is Johnny Yule as they look to mount a response. There's an awkward one to control for Halloran. Marcelo backed into a corner here by Clough, and then bundled over rather clumsily by Bernardo, which relieves that little bit of pressure on the Wanderers. Mentioned too that they've got plenty of players to come back carrying injuries at the moment. Harry van der Sarg, Roshi Ibasuki, Jay Barnett, Luke Dezil, Josh Cavallo, and the aforementioned Nestori Irankunda.
And we might see the third Toure emerge this year for Adelaide, Musa Toure. His two brothers in Europe, of course. Well, now it's Musa's turn. Putting the cart before the horse. But of course we do expect now, after all these years, we wait with anticipation each A-League season, Cup campaign, to see who of the youngsters is going to emerge, because they're generally so exciting.
Another rather cheap giveaway by the Reds. Ninkovic with a little pirouette. I'm not sure Milos Ninkovic will start every game this coming A-League season, but goodness me, if he plays like he's doing tonight, it's going to be hard to leave him out. There he is again, linking up. Beadling trying to release Clisby. Adelaide have the ball. Clough. Bernardo. Fired across. Comfortable though for Simmons. Nodded down by Antonsen. And away goes Dylan Parias. Looking to utilise that pace. And he's got plenty of it. And he's taken two defenders the wrong way. Still going. Dylan Parias squares it up. Gauchi makes the save. Antonsen still there. And Parias couldn't dig it out. And the Wanderers were almost in for a fourth goal.
Big escape for Adelaide. Well, Wallen was coming to double up on Parias, but he overcommitted, and Dylan Parias saw the lone way to goal and went straight for it. And it was pretty desperate. Pretty fortunate here. Here's the overread from, it was Kitto actually. Wallen was sliding in on the edge of the box, and that really could have ended up anywhere, including the back of the net, which would have been curtains for Adelaide, I'd say. They're a slight chance at 0-3. They're no chance at 0-4.
Floated forward by Kitto, and Clough had gone too early. Offside. Maybe without Ibasuki tonight, they're just missing that little bit of a focal point as well to be able to hold the ball up against a very determined, very physical Western Sydney Wanderers tonight. That's not to say that they've flouted the rules. Ninkovic has there, though. Wanderers begin their A-League campaign at home to Wellington on the 22nd of October. 4 of their first 5 games are at their home venue in Parramatta. Adelaide begin 2 days earlier against the reigning champions, the Central Coast Mariners. They say he's under pressure from Beadling. Popovic. Clough again, they're just too determined, the Wanderers. On back by Bonatig, squared up by Parias. Here's Ninkovic trying to pass it into the corner. It's glorious. It's 4 for Western Sydney Wanderers, and Milos Ninkovic has his first goal in red and black in any competition.
Well, again, it's the pressure in midfield that wins the ball. Adelaide's recovery is not sharp enough, and then it falls to one of the best players we've seen, Ninkovic, who passes the ball unimpeded into the back of the Adelaide net. And what has now a pasting for Adelaide runs the risk of turning into a humiliation in the round of 16 of the Australia Cup. The Cup Kings being hammered here.
Well, staring down the barrel of their heaviest ever cup defeat. And finally a goal in Wanderers colours for Milos Ninkovic. He didn't manage one in the A-League last season, and Carl Beard has immediately turned to his bench. We're going to see a double change presently. This is turning into a horrible night for the 3 times cup winners. Can they get on the board here? Craig Goodwin, their talisman, who has been peripheral really. Kitto seen out safely by Simmons. And Adelaide want to make that double change. They're going to have to wait a moment. Kitto Johnny Yule. Just got it caught up between his feet a little bit, Johnny Yule. And that will give Carl Veart the chance to make those changes. It's going to be Lachlan Barr to replace Alexander Popovich. That's a like-for-like change. And similarly, Isaias makes his way off to be replaced by Ethan Alagic. So Carl Veart has made his move and sent the message that he's not particularly happy.
Well, Popovich might still be a bit ginger from that knock in the first half. So he's getting a rest, the older statesman.
Here they come again. What a ball from Antonsen. That's a good sliding challenge from Ben Warland to alleviate that particular danger. The Wanderers have now hit 10 goals. Might be 11 here. Goodness me, Lockie Barr fresh off the bench and almost lost his footing and the ball inside his own penalty area. 10 goals in 2 cup ties for Western Sydney Wanderers, and they are swarming all over Adelaide United.
Well, it's a beautiful pitch here. We've already made that point. Great conditions, lovely playing temperature. Only one team's come to play, Simon, and enjoying the benefits of that atmosphere and the facility, and that's Western Sydney. They're looking magnificent. Adelaide, not so, by some distance.
Here's Goodwin, Beadling, good intervention. Forward by Marcelo. Antonsen. Really well played by the Swede. Beadling trying to steer it in behind. What a ball by Tom Beadling. It's Brandon Borrello. It's in. It's 5 for Western Sydney Wanderers. And Brandon Borrello has a double. It took a while to creep over the line, but creep over it did. And Adelaide are on the turf, confused and bewildered by this red and black tide, and that's how it all started. Brilliant.
Wonderful defence splitting pass. This was going wide for all money until, I don't know how he's got that spin on the second bounce from Brandon Borrello. Have a look at this. It's a really tidy finish, but it was going wide until that last minute. It's done a Shane Warne at the end to make it 5-0. Ball of the century from Brandon Borrello. Not half a bad pass from Beadling to set him up as well, splitting the defence completely. It's men against boys here at Marconi Stadium tonight, and you wouldn't suggest for a second that the goal scoring for the Red and Blacks is finished. It's a mauling so far.
Well, Brandon Borrello got 1 in the last round, and now he's got 2 tonight. Wanderers making a change. Nicholas Milanovic is going to replace Milos Ninkovic, who's had his big moment. And Adelaide United just don't know what's hit them. And I guess in terms of the basics, Harps, the Wanderers have just been hungrier, and there again they've won the ball back high up the field. Milanovic into the box. It's another Wanderers corner.
Well, they're roadkill at the moment, Adelaide. Stunned, bereft, lifeless. And the Wanderers are the complete opposite. They're really looking to ram this one even further home. 5's not enough, evidently. 57 minutes gone, 58.
Maybe more to come. Simmons with the corner. And Marcelo. Oh, goodness me, that wasn't too far off either. Wanderers claiming a corner. It certainly took a touch after Marcelo. This will confirm whether it was a Wanderer or an Adelaide defender.
Yeah, it's definitely a corner. It looked to me it came off Lockie Barr. So, little reprieve for Adelaide. Only momentary. Look how tight Simmons is on Craig Goodwin, who's been poor tonight. His touch has been really heavy. Not quite sure what state his body is preparation-wise. And he's not Robinson Crusoe. Adelaide really having to send a search party out to find a good performance so far.
Do you sense, Andy, that Adelaide are a little underdone? Is that one of the reasons?
It's impossible to say. They were down after, what was it, 87 seconds. That's hardly enough for fatigue to set in.
Marcelo. Simmons. Brillante just beyond Antonsen, who's now in a race with Brandon Barillo to complete the hat-trick. The way things are going, you wouldn't bet against both of them ending with a treble. That would be a quiz question in future years, wouldn't it? After Lockie Brook hit 5 in the previous round. 3 consecutive hat-tricks in 2 games. That's a lovely touch by Goodwin. Kitto. Marcelo stretching and Simmons tidying up. And the Wanderers just so sharp, so crisp with their passing. Parias, Beadling, Antonsen. And still it works out for Western Sydney Wanderers. Parias on the charge. And there's a bit of space here for Nicholas Milanovic. Oh, almost dropped for Borello. Wasn't expecting it.
No, that was a hat-trick moment for Brandon. And just looking, by now, Simon, an hour in, clearly the superior football team physically. Are the Wanderers.
Bernardo, who had a bit of joy down the right-hand side in the first half, and he's earned his team a free kick there. Rather slow to get back up. There's that latest chance for Nicholas Milanovic, which almost dropped for Barillo. Well, this is the fixture for goals. 4-4 between the two at Coopers in the first A-League meeting last season, then 3-2 to Adelaide in Parramatta towards the end of the campaign. Another 5 tonight, but all one-way traffic this evening. It's a push by Brillante on Yule. Wanderers substitutes. Warming up in front of the red and black block. Another young bench tonight. Zach Sapsford, Oscar Priestman, young winger Marcus Eunice among them as well. Here's one that comes with big raps for his performances in the NPL competition in New South Wales. And he's by all accounts lightning quick as well. Bovalina. Lockie Barr. Warland. Still almost half an hour to play here at Marconi Stadium. But, Adelaide already into damage limitation mode. Bovalina works it out nicely towards that right-hand side. Barr. Warland. The Wanderers have been so adept at closing those gaps, and Parias races away with it. Ball slightly behind Milanovic. All the time in the world for Barillo. Work wide by Brillante. Simmons. Brillante looking to wrap his boot around it. Couldn't get the requisite power to pick out a teammate. And now maybe a chance for Adelaide to get on the board. Thomas has come a long way. Bernardo is around him. And Clisby saves the day for Western Sydney Wanderers and preserves that clean sheet for now at least.
Yeah, well defended. Well defended from the Wanderers. So it's a tough one for Bernardo. He has been busy tonight, one of Adelaide's better players. Ball over the top from Barr was excellent. Just a little bit too much on that touch over keeper Thomas. But difficult to control at that speed and in that set of circumstances. But Clisby was there anyway to help his goalkeeper, and very well defended from the Wanderers.
Does give the Reds a rare corner, which Craig Goodwin will deliver. Nice shape to it, but Marcelo easily away. It's nicely done by Bovalina. Just a bit too narrow in the final analysis. Halloran couldn't reel it in. Clisby. Turned back by Bonatic. The intensity of the Wanderers' play tonight has been one of the main reasons why they're so far clear. Adelaide, by contrast, have really got out of second gear. Clisby. Bonatic back to his goalkeeper. Brillante. Adelaide pressing high. Wanderers have got out of it. Bit of frustration perhaps by Craig Goodwin. Getting the foul on Alex Bonatic. Getting his chance tonight alongside Marcelo, because Donny Gridic is still struggling with that ankle problem that he picked up in the pre-season camp on the Gold Coast. That's a lovely ball by Simmons, and it needed that intervention from Ben Warland.
Yeah, they've got their systems going nicely so far. The Wanderers in confident mode as well, so players know to receive and into which space they should hit the ball, and everyone's in such good touch. Movements are so fluent that most of those passes are coming off.
Jack Clisby ambling across to take the corner. It was his delivery that got the ball rolling after 87 seconds. Pinpoint cross that was duly dispatched by Marcus Antonsen. See if he can do the same thing again. Beadling and Marcelo among those looking to make their move. Goes deep towards the back post, where Bonatic was stationed. Recycled back through Parias. Up and away by Yule, and a shank off the right peg of Josh Brillante.
But he's been very lively tonight, Josh Brillante. It's great to see. Actually, he found things at Melbourne Victory in that difficult season last year. It looked to me like it really took its toll on Josh. He's looking a lot fresher tonight, which is great to see.
Goodwin. Rare space to be able to turn. Clough. Bernardo. This looks more promising for the Reds. Bernardo. Well, he's looked the most likely for the visitors tonight.
Yeah, couldn't deny the youngster. He's been clearly Adelaide's leading light. We're disappointed he didn't make more of that, actually. Zach Clough found him in some nice space. He'd set the ball up well for himself. His run was positive. His touch was positive. And really might have done better, having done all the lead up so nicely.
His start in the last round against Northcote City was his first in a year since the last Australia Cup in 2022. That long injury layoff, that is a handball against Aidan Simmons. It's an interesting expected goals return, 1.75 for the Wanderers. They've blown that out the water, Harps.
I'd like to know where the expectation of Adelaide of even getting .14s come from. You explain it to me.
Well, Bernardo's had a couple of chances, hasn't he? Yeah, fair point. Another change imminent for Adelaide United. Chested down nice enough by Barr, but then given straight back to the Wanderers. That's been the story too often tonight for them. Barlow's determination, almost finding a way through. Instead, the ball over the top finds Craig Goodwin. It's a lovely touch by Craig Goodwin. And what about that for a recovery from Aidan Simmons?
He did very well twice there, Aidan Simmons, in positioning himself first a little bit further up the field. And when he realised Craig Goodwin was going to get the better of him, he readjusted. Even dealt with a little fend-off to recover the ground and do brilliantly. It was a good moment from Craig Goodwin. Used his body nicely, had sights set for goal, and get that left foot going until Aidan Simmons nicked in and defended so well.
Luka Ivanovic has replaced Bernardo. He's probably been Adelaide's best performer in an attacking sense tonight. Maybe still short of a bit of petrol after that long injury layoff, so Ivanovic is on. Goodwin's corner over the head of Lachlan Barr and Giuseppe Bobolina as well. Still plenty forward for Adelaide, lifted in by Clough, and just some miscommunication.
That's a double whammy there, because Thomas collects that as he should have, and he hits the ground and rolls the ball to Dylan Prius, who had no one between him almost and the Adelaide goal. Could quite conceivably have been a chance for 6-0.
Instead, Alex Bonatig got a touch, and it's another corner which Goodwin whips into the near post. And Ben Warland, off balance, deflects behind for a goal kick. And Ben Abraham's just going to check on Ben Warland, because he got a whack there to the back of the head. And we're going to see changes here for the Wanderers. Tom Beadling is to be replaced by Oscar Priestman, young midfielder who was with Sydney FC before changing sides in terms of the city. Also going to see in place of Dylan Parias on this near side. We mentioned him a little bit earlier on, Andy. Marcus Eunice, who is a young winger of immense promise, according to reports. Here's Johnny Yule for Adelaide. Can they get a consolation? Spins up and away. Goodwin trying to protect it for a corner, and he's got it. Belatedly, the Reds mounting a bit of pressure, whipped in by Goodwin. Out it pops Johnny Yule. Plenty of power behind that effort. Too many bodies in the way. Clough. Bobolina at the back post. Over the head of Barr, and up and away by Brillante. Swung back out towards Goodwin. Oh, slip, which is unfortunate by Yule. outcome long since decided here at Marconi Stadium, but Adelaide fighting to try and make the scoreline a little bit more respectable. Here's Eunice. Tracked by Kitto. Calmly done by Simmons. And they'll open it up here for Clisby down the left, Western Sydney Wanderers. Might be asking a little too much of Priestman. He did really well, Oscar Priestman, to keep that ball alive. It's a good win back, or is it? No. Clisby says, I got the ball. Ben Abraham, who was right on the spot, said, yep, but you got the opponent too.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I'd like to see that one again. Which has leapt to avoid the tackle. I don't know if there was any contact here. So Manovic does well to reel that one in. Yeah, I don't know if I reckon that's clean. On that, I don't know how good your eyes are there, Simon. Maybe mine are failing me.
Maybe he gives himself up a little bit by the fact that he's gone to ground, but
possibly.
Yeah, I can easily see it your way, Hops.
Anyway, the ref was there. He was right on the spot. And a good job tonight, Ben Abraham again. Very good referee.
Now the ricochet favours Adelaide United. Halloran now operating on the right-hand side, which is probably more his go, of course, with Luka Jovanovic in the centre. One more look at it.
Get a clearer look here. Oh, there might have been a little contact on Aligic's right foot. I'm going to defer to the referee there. Close enough for Jack Clisby to feel a little ripped off.
Well, the one thing you can't fault Ben Abraham on with that particular decision is that positioning was spot on. Here's Ethan Aligic trying to steer it in behind Bonatig. Good scrapping by Priestman. Tidy work by the substitute. Could he perhaps become another Callum Nieuwenhof after crossing the divide? Nieuwenhof, of course, now has joined the Australian contingent at Hearts, of which there are several. Calmly done by Aligic. Kitto. Bovalina. Halloran. Aligic again. Kitto for Goodwin. Yule. Not quite sure what the intention was there. Maybe Halloran. There's a change for the Wanderers. Aidan Simmons just pulled up a little bit short in his last attempts to keep the ball in play. Maybe running out of petrol. He's going to be replaced by Gabriel Kleur. And Zach Sapsford will replace Marcus Antonsson, who had a sensational first 45. A little bit less involved in the second half, but not a bad starting debut for the Swede.
No, excellent. Excellent. Aidan Simmons did well. Of course, Gabriel Kleur was pretty much a rusted on for the bulk of last season, certainly from the start, and did very, very well. Aidan Simmons came in later and made a name for himself. He's had a full winter season of NPL as well, so he'll be needing a little bit of rest over and above his exertions tonight. It's Gabriel Kleur's first involvement. Tonight's game, it's to clatter into Ethan Aligic, can concede the foul.
Nice little reverse ball though. To find him by Eunice, who's eager to make his impression. 6 minutes off the bench in the round of 32, 6-1 win over Floreat Athena. Again, the Wanderers win the ball back high up the pitch, this time through Bonatig. Here's Eunice. Could he get in on the scoring act? Forced to backtrack and turn back out. Eunice again. Clare. Through Brillante and then Marcelo. Bonatig. Nicely worked by the Wanderers. Clisby. Allen a bit too savvy. The ball recovery time for the Wanderers tonight has been exemplary. And again, they should have been first to the ball, but Clare completely missed his kick, and instead it's Goodwin who races away, has Clough wide on the left. He opts to go right instead. It's Luka Jovanovic, and Jovanovic pushed away by Thomas, and a consolation goal for Zach Clough. And that clean sheet will not happen for Lawrence Thomas. It won't make any difference as to who's going through to the last 8, but Adelaide are on the board.
Well, amazing how fine the margins in football can be, Simon. All night the Wanderers have pinched that ball in midfield with their pressure. This one, pass into midfield, just evades Gabriel Clare, and Adelaide were away, and it was Craig Goodwin who opened the opportunity up with a really positive run over the halfway line and a sweeping ball out to Jovanovic, who then set himself for goal. Did a good job, the youngster, jinking in onto his left foot and forcing Lawrence Thomas just into the parry. And to the crumbs was Zach Clough. It's a good sign for Adelaide. There haven't been many of them tonight, but that was a good play.
Zach Clough scoring in consecutive cup ties. And that spooned up off the shin, a fancy of Marcelo, but no problems for Thomas. Just a little slip from Gabriel Clare, wasn't it, that allowed Adelaide to build that attack, and Jovanovic's shot was too hot to handle for Lawrence Thomas. Zach Clough profiting from that. And goals are certainly something he's been wanting to add to his game. He's got a couple of them in the Australia Cup. Even if Adelaide will be going no further in this competition. Well, barring the miracle of all miracles. Eunice. Priestman. Just in general terms about the Wanderers, this is a competition I'm sure they've got designs on. They haven't won a trophy, of course, since the days of Tony Popovic, the Asian Champions League in 2014. They will see this tournament as very winnable.
Yeah, well, of course. This in the A-League to play for. And this gets you into Asia, as we're about to see MacArthur, who won the Cup last year, into the AFC Cup, which will start in just a few weeks. And why wouldn't the Wanderers, or any team? That's the whole point. Win the Cup competition, get yourself into Asia. And they're looking good. 2 really good hit-outs. I mean, we couldn't read much maybe into the Floreat Athena win. Floreat Athena's NPL form in Perth has been pretty poor this year, so the Wanderers made short work of that one. We'd had no idea really what to gauge from that, but they've been so impressive tonight.
Double change for Adelaide United. Tony Yall and Zach Clough, 2 players to go off, and Fabian Taladera. Jake Porter on for his Reds debut. Son of Joel Porter. Familiar name to A-League fans of a certain vintage.
Same with Fabian Taladera. His dad, Carlo, played with distinction for Adelaide and then Collingwood. In those days, goes way back, hey? Both spent a lot of time on away trips at Marconi Stadium trying to dislodge the home team. Joel Porter, a great strike rate. Just Adelaide and then Sydney Olympic. Carlo Taladera, really consummate midfielder. We'll see how their boys go. Watch with great interest.
Not able to get in on the scoring act as we tick down into the last 5 minutes of what has been a 5-star performance by Western Sydney Wanderers. Just that one Zach Clough goal as the blemish. Alagich left that a bit short. They'll get to try again. Kitto. Nicely watched down into the thigh by Porter. They look for Craig Goodwin and they find him. Kitto. And could be a chance here at the back post for Porter, but quite able to get the contact under pressure from Clisby. Two of the Wanderers fans started to head for the exits. Big traffic to get home. They've been well entertained tonight. Priestman, Clare. Barolo showing too much of that to Ben Warland. Warland trying to retrieve the ball back off Clare. Slid in, perhaps a little bit fortunate. He didn't make any contact. Bonatig. Lovely ball. Borello. Clare. There's a touch short that for Priestman, and the challenge from Taladera was strong. No way through for Borello. And he charged into the back. Brandon Borello of Ethan Alagich. Which brings an end to that particular attack. Fabian Taladera, just 17 years of age, made his senior debut off the bench last few minutes against Northcote in the round of 32. And that pass sort of sums up Adelaide United's evening.
It's been that type of night. Second best by quite some distance tonight. A yard and a half off the pace most of the evening compared to Western Sydney. And some good goals to the Red and Blacks to force home the advantage they've earned across the rest of the field. Fantastic introduction to the Western Sydney fans for their Swedish recruit. Marcus Antonsson, outstanding. It's not a part of the field they've staffed from overseas particularly well over the course of their history. They've had some huge foreign imports. Shinji Ono set things going, but really as a centre forward from overseas they've struggled in the recruitment market.
Eunice drives in the cross. Yeah, you'd probably say Oriol Riera was the honourable exception to that, but
well, he's certainly been the best.
Yeah.
I get criticised for this view. It didn't really light up my world watching him as a foreigner coming to the Wanderers. He's the best they've had as a number 9 so far, but on that 45 minutes, I think the Wanderers fans can expect much better again, which is a good sign. He was great.
Into the last minute of the 90. Wanderers about to plant their flag in the quarterfinals of the Australia Cup. What will be the 6th time in their history. They've gone on to reach the semi-finals twice, but never the final itself. Kleur. Ivanovic showing admirable determination, and he gets the whistle for the foul by Kleur as well. And fourth official Tim Danaskos indicates there will just be 2 minutes to be added on. World Cup style 10 minutes in the Australia Cup, at least not yet. Goodwin. Adelaide United will have to go back to South Australia and regroup. That A-League season opener against Central Coast Mariners, the reigning champions, of course. I'm sure that Carl Viet won't panic, but this is perhaps a result he couldn't have foreseen. Or at least the performance. Wanderers ending the game as they begun in full control. They scored after just 87 seconds. And from then on, the winner really hasn't been in much doubt. Worked in field by Kitto. Alagic pings it out towards Porter. Halloran. Good soft hands from Lawrence Thomas. That should just about see us through to full time. They've had a pretty good night, those in red and black in the stands. Perhaps a season that promises much to come. And that little bit of frustration ends the contest. What a night for Western Sydney Wanderers. For the 6th time in their history, they are through to the quarterfinals of the Australia Cup as Adelaide United lose on the road in this competition for the first time since the final back in 2017. The game was all but won by half-time, in truth. 2 goals by Marcus Antonsen, who also assisted Brandon Borrello for his first, and then in the second half, Milos Ninkovic and Borrello with his second before Zach Clough got a late consolation for the Reds. A thumping win for Marco Redan's team. Western Sydney Wanderers 5, Adelaide United 1. So let's have a look at all the highlights, and well, the Wanderers were at it from the start, Andy Harper.
Yeah, the highlights are almost exclusively red and black, and it was a great night for them. Great night for Jack Clisby, sensational night for Antonsen, the Swede. A reminder to everybody that Milos Ninkovic is far from the finished article. His career still continues at 38. That was a moment of absolute class. To make it 2-0, the third goal was very, very tidy. The great Brazilian Marcelo, really happy to see him back for an extended Wanderers run, and Thompson introducing himself completely and utterly to the red and black fans here at Marconi Stadium tonight. The second half threatened to be a procession, 3-0 at half-time. Ninkovic passes the ball into the back to make it 4-0. It was to finish 5 for the Wanderers. They might have had more. This is a wonderful pass from Beedling to split the defence and put Borrello in for his second. This second bounce is quite uncanny. That was going wide until something happened. I don't know. Whatever. And Craig Goodwin, who wasn't terribly prominent tonight, but that's a moment of quality from the Socceroo to find young Jovanovic, whose shot's a good one. And then Zach Clough bouncing in to get the replay to make it 5-1 for the Wanderers. Completed the scoring.
Well, let's have a look at the numbers before we leave you. Strangely enough, Adelaide had more possession tonight, but really that doesn't tell you much of the story. The XG perhaps does. Interesting that it was only 1.88, and the Wanderers, well, they could have had 6 or 7, to be quite frank with you tonight. And yep, Adelaide back to the drawing boards. The A-League season not too far away, but the Wanderers march on. They're into the last 8 of the Australia Cup. Hope you enjoyed our coverage from Marconi Stadium tonight. For myself, Simon Hill, from Andy Harper, from all the team here in Western Sydney, a very good night to you, and well done to the Wanderers.